Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Alrighty, Lionel with you, and this is The Other Side of Midnight. My friends, there is probably one of the greatest subjects of all, and that is, of course, I love Law and Order, and I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's fantastic, but I want to just bring you up to a couple of issues as well, because what I'd like you to do is, in addition to everything that we've talked about, I want you to know everything. I want to provide you these disquisitions, here's a good word, a lucubration, a kind of a review, an exposition, a treatise on this subject. And on dare I say this, on an international level, at an international level, there's something very, very important, very, very critical that needs to be discussed. No matter who you are, Democrat or Republican or independent or what have you, one of the biggest things that I hate, despise, abhor, and detest is the notion of, wait for it, globalism. Globalism is one of these things that sounds so great, doesn't it? Globalism. Sounds wonderful. It sounds like this, like the answer to all global. Isn't that great? We are the world, and UNICEF, and you know what I mean, and the UN, and whenever we hear anything, we get invited to a lot of stuff. Like, well, there's the UN. Ha! UN? What are you talking about? And people look at you and they don't know what you're talking about, which is, by the way, par for the course. I'm used to that. If I ever get my Meta glasses, I will, which I never will, but if I could have you see the response and the looks from people who respond to what I'm saying, it's normally a look of complete and total, I don't know what the word is, not confusion, but like, what? Huh? I've never heard this. You'll never hear the word globalism on any cable news show. And people who I think are perhaps maybe conservative or populist commentators and the like, there are two individual things that we really don't like, and I want to lay them on you. Agendas 21 and 2030. When you say Agenda 21, not Century 21, but Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, this is more than some kind of environmental planning business. This is bigger. To critics, they symbolize a kind of a broader, kind of a global governance that could weaken national sovereignty and local democratic control. I don't mean democratic as in parties. I mean the democratic as in a democracy. Let me say this again. I am 100%, without a doubt, dyed-in-the-wool, nationalist, sovereign American. I don't give up any power to anybody for anything. We might have some kind of cooperation with people, and that's a different story. But we will never cede any kind of authority or any kind of power to the UN. And what happens is the basis for my fear, especially with organizations like the UN and Bilderberg and the G7 and all these others, but the UN in particular, is that the international bodies are becoming increasingly attempting to not only influence our domestic policy through things like climate initiatives, but also to, again, wrest control of our culture, our politics, to take control from this. Now, it works something like, this is very, very interesting. They will do this through climate initiatives, land use guidelines, economic frameworks, you name it. And from that perspective, Agenda, remember, 21 and 2030 are seen kind of as roadmaps to a kind of a centralized version where we become pushed to the side and we lose our authority, our sovereignty to these bigger international globalist new world order, this lunacy, period. And one very, very serious concern involves property rights, land control. You see, what happens is when they get into environmental zoning, and here's the word you got to be careful. Climate, you've already heard this nonsense. When they talk about sustainable development, run for the hills. They never tell you what they're going to do. But sustainable development, this could restrict how private land is used. These are people who want you to not be able to use land, rainwater, not be able to use fluorescent bulbs and this and that. They started with a little. Remember a while back, they don't want you to have overhead fans, gas stoves. They will do things that serve absolutely no purpose whatsoever. Rural lands, farms, natural resources are going to be moved and controlled and seized into these large kind of managed conservation zones, tightly regulated development corridors, and all of this eliminating, if not reducing or completely destroying any kind of individual ownership. They don't want you to own it. Remember what Klaus Schwab said at World Economic Forum? You will own nothing and you will like it. They're not kidding you. This isn't a joke. And remember, I don't care who it is, in my opinion, if you allow the Democratic, whatever this is, whatever iteration of lunacy this is, to proceed, you're looking at this. And when you talk about economic fears, oh my God. Global sustainability frameworks could justify carbon taxes, cap and trade, track and tax, consumption limits, industrial restructuring, shifting wealth and production away from the U.S. towards, ready for this, multinational regulatory systems, global development, and we say bye-bye to that. And when it's being suggested, the radical left or the namby-pamby group will say, doesn't that sound wonderful? We are the world. We are the children. Digital monitoring, CBDC, central bank digital currencies. Oh, my God. Digital monitoring, data systems tied to sustainability metrics. Listen to me. I promise you, future environmental compliance is going to involve tracking energy use, transportation patterns, consumption behavior, and in the worst case scenario, the worst case that I can imagine, it could resemble some kind of a social credit style system toward climate policy. I promise you this is what they're going to do. I promise you. Social credit scores, you don't want that. They're doing it in China. It's happening here, and you never hear anybody talk about it. Because remember, the last time we saw something like that, during that thing called COVID, people went out of their way to comply. They liked complying. They loved the subjugation that they felt. And finally, there's something very, very serious about this. When you have this kind of a global administration of, I guess, society, where decisions once made locally become guided by international standards, we are doomed. We are doomed. For Americans, for those of us who love our sovereignty and love our country, for those who believe in this, you could say goodbye to constitutional freedoms, federalism, private property. It's done. It's finished. And listen to me. I can't make you understand this. You have to study this yourself. You don't have to crack a book. Just understand when they talk about things like, climate change or digital currency or social credit scores, carbon taxes. Let me tell you what carbon taxes, the way this is going to work. You're going to love this. Every year, you will be allotted, let's say, 50 carbon units. What's a carbon unit? I don't know. What is it? It's whatever they say. What does it mean? I don't know what it means. Is it bogus? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it is. No doubt about it. It's crazy. Doesn't make any sense. So let's say you got 50. So Blaze he's got 55. Oh, because of all the, recording he does on this 4-track. Yuri, by the way, who lives this Spartan cave-like, he's done 30. He's got 20 extra non-used units. So what does he do? He goes to Blaze and says, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you mine. It's a trade-off. But I want to have somebody do it. So we have a market. We have a carbon exchange. You've heard about the equities, commodities markets, and this. We're going to have carbon taxes, carbon exchange, carbon taxes. Al Gore was supposed to be the first. He and Maurice Strong were going to be the first carbon billionaire. He might be very close to that. It's the craziest thing in the world. It's nuts. And I'm telling you, generations of people, generations of folks, generations of kids who saw the picture of the ice, the polar bear huddling on the ice cube that used to be an iceberg. People who are raised to believe this, they're going to say, it's about time. We have to do something. We have to do something for the future. The future of our country, the future of our world. We must do something for the future.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.